Hello there.
Daniel Luciano.
Share your screen though, Josh. You didn't share. Right. Awesome. I mean, it's quite clear, and I think I agree with all of them, as far as directionally is concerned. I'm expecting more. Like if I was looking over the whole period, I'm expecting some level of balance today more than usual, more than what we've experienced in the last 2 days. Of course, we don't have to get that, but I would be expecting it. So the only thing I'm pointing out here is this is a key level for me. This 94 was tested on Friday. And in the overnight session, we already got down to there before we headed back up. I'm using this zone here, which is the key lows that went in here and here and back in here. Breaking below this level, I'm considering the long-term then to be a bearish situation, and really we're going into a kind of a bear market if we break down below that level. I'm not surprised like you to see bounce off of this. I mean, I would expect a pretty big fight by the bulls in this range, and if it gives way, and they don't hold this area, then I would expect some significantly new legs of downside action. But I'm not seeing the corresponding news events to go with this, which is really interesting to me. I've never thought the markets need news to move, and this market moved. This whole decline, everything that's happened in the last 5 days, has done it with almost no news that I can tell, which is fascinating to me. Anyway, so we had this big impulse off the low. This is a lot of volume, and it's a huge amount of range for the overnight session. It's 94 points in the ES. That's a big day, and that's why I'm expecting a little bit more balance in this session. I would expect that this low does not get taken. If it does, bear's in full control. So I'm expecting that we do not take that low, and that we kind of go on the bull camp is going to be something like a pullback. I would expect the mid to hold. I would expect there to be a pretty big bounce. I would expect to not see that mid even get tested again, and a push back up into this range. This has been the key zone up here. It's quite a ways away right now, so I don't think we're going to get up there today. But I wouldn't be surprised to balance in this range today, and it's going to provide a lot of trading, this range here. And then have this be the excess low that holds for the moment. Now that's the bullish scenario. The more bearish scenario would be a situation where this attempts to push up and rolls back over again, and we start to get movement that breaks this mid and holds these lower prices, breaks through the 94s, takes out the low from Friday, and then starts working through the zones down here. Get this, it should be a very big, colossal impulses lower. And I'm not expecting that today, so we should be able to see this. This should be an impulse. That's pretty big. See it. Okay. And the key levels are here. Like if we see this go out today, I would expect that the bulls push through this area, bounce on the other side, and hold it if they can. You got these upper ranges to go up in here, but still, this 94 and this 36.94 It's exactly a 100-point range. I would expect that this contains the whole day. I know it's a big range, but I think it contains the whole day. And yeah, on the upside. Yeah, well, there's a big gap right here. There's a whole area that was not traded in the RTH session. That gap there, I think. So, I have basically two scenarios that I'm looking more bullish today because I think the bulls kind of stood ground here. And as long as we stay inside of Friday's range on the downside, which is really this area, and I'm expecting them to hold this mid. I would expect that we balance in this range. That would be the most likely scenario. The breakout would be the less likely scenario, but possible. And then the breakdown is the least likely scenario, in my opinion, at least for today. Now, that doesn't mean that this week, but for today, I think that this lower area is likely to hold. So that's what I'm looking at. And my scenarios really are looking to see if this pulls back to the mid, if I can get a long, that gives me room to the overnight high as the first trade. Well, it's going to be, it just depends on how it would happen. If it does go into one of the zones that I have down here, which I haven't moved them yet, but they'll probably be a little bit lower today. If it does go into the zone, it could be a zone fade, but it's going to more be, I'm not going to just take location trades in the middle here. I want to see some delta. I want to see some other things going on. I'm not going to just pull a trigger because it's a zone necessarily. Up here. Of course, that's possible, except the fact that you got this big impulse that's moved it all the way up here in the first place. So I would expect on first test that the bulls defend this area. And it's very typical to see, or I've seen it many times on the day time frame where this is the point of control. You don't even get much farther down than something like this. You break through it again, and you go like this. You start to build on top. So yeah, these smaller areas are going to be here, but I'm not going to necessarily trade off of these smaller areas, but this mid area to me lines up with the point of control from Friday, lines up with these lows over here, and I would expect that to be defended. So I think that that's a safer area to be long from. It also corresponds with 3,700 and the close of Friday. So this area I think is a great place if it's gonna hold. This would be the area that I'm gonna look for. On a short-term bearish kind of pullback continuation type move. Now it wouldn't be off of this type of chart. This is a bigger structure chart, right? So we would be looking at something a little bit more like a Renko chart off of that particular area. And it would set up something like using this as a breakdown area, right? So if you use my now let's imagine a setup, I guess, if you want to, off this kind of a thing, it would look like this. Let's say the range starts to set up like this. It goes like this, right? And now the mid is somewhere in here. It starts to push through and balance on the other side of this area where all these lows have been put into place, all these flushed lows, and it starts to push through this area. Balance breakdown trades from here down to the area of the mid, which is down in there. certainly setups for me on the shorter term. Definitely. I would have to set up, a little differently than what it is right now, I think. That I want to see that choppy balance. I want to see the bulls try to do something. I want to see breaking below the areas of support for those bulls, and then that liquidation I would jump on. Yeah. Yeah. At least for the day. Overall, I think that the structure is more bearish than bullish on the bigger picture. So, it's a combination of taking the big picture into consideration and taking the short-term picture into consideration, and considering the fact that we've put in such a strong low today. It's not as likely for us to take that out. Yeah. Very true. That is it. Yeah. Yeah. See you later.